So when you're out there on the streets, you really ought to have a camera. It's very important. Sometimes the police, and often they will behave better than if they're thinking that they're not being recorded in any way at all. One time I was out preaching with Brother Kerrigan Skelly, and we were on a campus, and an officer pulled up, and you could tell he was so angry that Kerrigan was preaching. And he said to him, "You can't do this here. This is a private university." And then right as he said that, he turned and he looked at me, and he realized I had a camera recording everything he was saying. And he shut his mouth, turned around, went back to his police car, made a few calls back to the station, came back very humble, and said, "I just want to let you know that this is a public university, and you have the right of free speech here." And then he drove away. Now, if I didn't have that camera, if he thought he could tell us something and get away with it, then we probably would have been in a very different situation than we were. I remember my attorney shared with me one situation when he went to court, and he said the officer who was involved in the lawsuit said, he testified, "I never commanded this street preacher to leave. I simply suggested and offered my opinion. I told him it was my opinion that he should leave, that it was about time to leave. I never commanded it, I just suggested it." And the judge was about to dismiss the case and say that there was no violation of free speech until the attorney stood up and said, "Judge, we have a video." And they showed the video of the officer threatening the street preacher with arrest if he did not leave immediately, telling the street preacher that he was breaking the law and would go to jail if he did not leave. And so, of course, they won that lawsuit. That was an easy win. But if they didn't have the recording, it would have been a very different outcome, because the officer was lying when he was on stage, when he was on the stand. And when you're using the video camera, it's very important that you identify who you're talking to. If you can, identify what day it is, what campus it is, and look for the officer's name badge. And what I always do is I'll state his name on video. I just recently talked to an officer, Good, and I looked at his name badge. It said Officer Good, and I had the video camera rolling. And so when I was talking to him in dialogue, I kept referring to him as Officer Good. That's very important later on if you are going to need to do a lawsuit, because if you don't know who the man is, then you're not going to be able to challenge what he told you very easily. Then he's just another John Doe, and it makes the legal process on our part very difficult. So use a camera and make sure you state the name of the officer on film. Something else to be mindful of is that now there's a new development, and it's illegal to film an on-duty police officer in 3 states, at least last I knew. I remember these are new developments, and they're being challenged in court, and I sure pray and hope that they're not upheld for it to be illegal to film an on-duty police officer really endangers the public. And this is really a form of tyranny, because the police can do a lot of things and get away with it if we're not allowed to videotape them. Of course, they're allowed to videotape us. They have video cameras on their cars. And so at least in 3 states in the north, it's illegal right now to film an on-duty police officer. But in most states, it's perfectly legal. They're a public officer in, fulfilling a public office, and, their job is out on the public streets and public campuses, and so it's perfectly legal to film them. And